Hey there and welcome back to another Tales of Arcadia video. And today I'll be opening up old wounds and talking about the aftermath of Trollhunters Rise of the Titans, and more importantly, the potential future of the Tales of Arcadia franchise. And honestly, I'm as surprised as anybody that I'm actually returning to make a video about Tales of Arcadia. Because, the franchise is pretty much dead to me after how Rise of the Titans ended. For those of you who don't know, or have blissfully erased it from your memory, Rise of the Titans was billed as the epic grand finale of the Tales of Arcadia franchise, tying up the storylines set up in Trollhunters, Three Below, and Wizards, and at first, it looked like it was going to do just that, provide a satisfying conclusion to all these characters and stories. But like many good franchises seem to do these days, it choked hard at the finish line and delivered one of the least satisfying endings to a long-running franchise since the final season of Game of Thrones, reversing literally everything that happened through all the seasons of the show, destroying all the storylines and character development we'd seen over 5 years, and basically telling us, the audience, that the time we spent watching meant nothing at all. What a waste of time. I saw a Q&A the other day with a producer, I think, saying that they didn't want the audience to feel cheated by the time travel concept, so they had Jim keep his memories. But personally, I still don't see how that really changes anything about how bad the ending was. They successfully diagnosed what the issue was with the ending, but then they completely bungled any attempt to fix it. It's like using essential oils, chiropractic medicine, and meditation to try and cure cancer. It ain't gonna happen. It really just makes it impossible to enjoy any of the work they made before the film came out. Because in the end, it's all pretty much meaningless anyway. And I feel like this fact is made even worse by the fact that another Q&A revealed that they made this movie instead of doing a second season of Wizards. And, maybe they would have just stretched the plot of the film out to fit a show format. But I almost think that would have been better because it wouldn't have felt so rushed and it would have given us time to come to grips with the various character deaths and maybe even the different timeline they created. Not to mention that the sheer amount of time they would have had literally doubles. But then again, maybe they would have done a different story altogether. Who knows? But it can't have been worse than what they eventually decided on. I understand they wanted to do a huge crazy finale with heaps of great effects, but why didn't they spend a little bit more time on the script? Now, coming into the film, there was a lot of discussion about how this was it, the grand finale, the final installment. After this one, there's no more. And honestly, this probably played a role in the franchise's fall from grace. Because if this is how it all ends, it just spoils everything that came before. But from that same Q&A, Guillermo del Toro hinted that there may be more to it than that. And that they've pitched to Dreamworks the potential of a 4-year run of shorts that will pick up where the ending of Rise of the Titans left off. With Toby for some reason being chosen as the next Trollhunter, while Jim just lets him run the gauntlet and instead lives the good life. And I'm actually a bit mixed on the idea of these shorts and whether or not they'd actually be a worthwhile contribution to the franchise as a whole. Would they actually add anything, or would they just be a weird alternate universe rehash where all the characters are just meeting up again in very similar ways, except with the role of Toby and Jim switched around? Because honestly, if they do go ahead and make these shorts at some point, it's going to pretty much decide whether the franchise as a whole can be looked back on fondly or not. Yes, they'd probably think that the ending to the film was a stupid decision, and that it probably shouldn't have gone down like that, but I think if the follow-up was good, they could move past it and look at the whole collected work a bit more positively. On the other hand though, it could completely double down on how much of a mistake that ending turned out to be and make things even worse. And I think the worst way for them to do it would be that if things were basically exactly the same and only swapped the roles of Toby and Jim, except for certain elements like dating Claire for instance, because that'd be weird. Or if they gave the amulet back to Jim straight away somehow. That would be the biggest cop-out of all time, surely. Because that's basically admitting that the ending to your huge finale movie wrapping up 5 years of storytelling was a little bit of a mistake. Whoopsie! And honestly, this is actually a genuine fear of mine, as it's even been hinted at by the creators that the amulet might find its way back to Jim, regardless of Toby being chosen. That would suck. Here you go, mate. Here's a pity Trollhunter amulet. Oh wait, sorry. You're not good enough. Here, have a nougat nummy and sit down. Why even bother giving it to him just to rip the rug out from underneath the character? So yeah, anything along those lines would probably ensure that the fan response to the franchise as a whole remains largely negative and disappointed. Now, I'm not going to sit here and try and write a complete plot outline for the shorts, because, that's not my job. But there are a number of different avenues they can take to try and preserve the original feel of the shows, whilst also doing new things. Obviously, we've already seen that Toby has the amulet and Jim's working towards rehabilitating Strickler as soon as possible. But there's still so much they could change and show in different little shorts. I think it would actually be quite funny for Jim to play the role of some sort of prophet and fake having visions just to breeze through the storyline of Trollhunters. guiding Toby to defeat Bullar and the Janus Order, and preventing Gunmar from ever getting out of the Darklands, and thus preventing heaps of troll deaths. Like Vendel and Drall. Man, I miss Vendel and Drall. And as much as I do dislike the different timeline thing, it would actually be quite funny if they managed to stop Morgana and her cronies in like a 10-minute short. And because of this, you now have all the Trollhunters characters fully available for the entirety of 3 Below, and perhaps this leads to the King and Queen not dying in the end. And obviously you'd bring Dukesy back into things a whole lot earlier, because, you know, he's a beast. And then with all this time to prepare and plan, they should be pretty much able to clean sweep the Arcane Order before they have time to prepare anything. No Titans. There, Jim has saved the day over the course of maybe 3 to 4 shorts. I mean, and that's depending on how long they are, but I'd guess like 10 to 15 minutes each, maybe? I don't know. Maybe an episode long? I have no idea how this works. But the proposal lists 8. So if they're longer, you're going to pack more stuff in, and nobody wants to retread old ground with just Toby in the lead instead, so you'll wrap up that storyline ASAP. And this means the rest of them will be a whole lot of fluff. I'm talking the adventures of Nana and Varvatos Vex. I'm talking about Jim forgetting to tell Toby about the whole turning into a troll thing. I'm talking Drall beating up Toby to try and get the amulet whilst Jim has a giggle. Creep Slayer's adventures. Drall going to live in Toby's room instead of Jim's basement. And maybe even Arg becoming closer to Jim instead. I don't know. Just preserve the blinky Jim father-son thing. It's too wholesome to abandon. And hell, maybe some of those ideas sound stupid to you, but I think they could be a lot of fun. And whilst they don't erase the ending of the movie, they can make the most out of what they were given, and maybe give the franchise the redemption it deserves. That being said though, those are just all my ideas, and now I'd like to hear yours. What do you think about the possibility of more Tales of Arcadia? Do you think it would be a good idea to try and redeem it, or better to just let it die? Make sure to leave a comment and let me know.